If you looked at Australia's total metals, it's 36. If you look at Russia's total metals, sorry, it wasn't. It's 27, Australia, to Russia's 80. Now, Australia was first, Russia was second. How many times will 27 go into 80? 80 divided by 27.
2.962.
So it's 2.962, so it's about 3 times smaller. So it's 1/3 as many as Russia. Yes. Yes.
Miss Sam, my question. There's more than half the plants that don't have this piece of paper, but they're just writing the answers down. That's not going to help them. That's not a study guide.
And the directions were, make sure that you come in here today, and these directions were given to you since Friday of last week, that you come in here today with it completed. Because one, if I'm up here and I'm solving them, you don't know what you know and what you don't know if you're not checking your own paper. If you don't have them solved right now, knowing if what you did is accurate. So if you're here unprepared today, this review session is really doing you no good.
It's no good. The back row and half of them, that row don't have that paper, and they're only writing the answers down, not even putting how they got the answer. Do you have another copy, and I just make a copy? I know you didn't want to make copies.
You can take somebody, because I do not have a fresh copy. I've been giving them out left and right all day, and I will not be doing that all year. Yes, I've committed now to giving you a study guide before everyone, and I expect it to be done and to be done on time and to be kept up with. C.
How many? You need some for your last class?
This is the last class. I've been giving them out all day, so I ain't got none now. This is a percent over 100 is equal to is over Og problem. They want to know about what percent of Canada's total metals are gold. Their total metals is 16. The part that is gold is 2. So what percent is that? Once you fill in your proportion, then you can cross multiply and divide. Yes. When you do 16x is equal to 200, and you divide 200 by 16, you get 12.5. Now, because it said about blank percent, you can round up and make it 13%, but because you can have half of a percent, if you leave it at 12.5%, I will still count it correct. But I cannot have 48/100ths of a metal. And if you don't round up at that point, you're not going to get credit for it. You've got to use some common sense. All of these are the answers for number 1. 2, 1/3, and 12.5 to 13%. Now, it is a metal problem tomorrow. She did not even change the names. She just changed the numbers. That's it. You're looking at your test with the numbers changed. Any questions about number 1? Number 2. There are 48 pretzels in a 16-ounce bag. That's going to be your first ratio. 48 pretzels to 16 ounces. A wants you to write and solve a proportion where you'll be able to find the number of pretzels, so X goes on top with the number of pretzels, to a 4-ounce bag. 4 ounces on bottom. Ounces go with ounces, pretzels go with pretzels. I could scale down, or I can cross multiply and divide. What did I do to 16 to get 4? I divided by 4. What is 48 divided by 4? There are 12 pretzels to a 4-ounce bag. For part B, I'm still using the same ratio. 48 pretzels to a 16-ounce bag. That's given to us. Tomorrow, problem 2 are chocolate-covered pretzels. B wants to know what is the number of pretzels, X on top, pretzels with pretzels, in a 1-ounce bag. Now we're finding the unit rate. What did I do to 16 to get 1? Divided by 16. 48 divided by 16 is 3. There will be 3 pretzels to a 1-ounce bag. See, I'm using the same ratio. They gave me 48 pretzels to a 16-ounce bag. What are they asking for this time? How many ounces, X goes on bottom with ounces, is 1 pretzel? I'm still finding a unit rate, but I'm doing it to 1 pretzel now instead of to 1 ounce. So I can either scale down or I can cross multiply and divide. 48 times X is 48X. 16 times 1 is 16. I'm dividing both sides by 48 to get X by itself. What is 16 divided by 48? It is 0.33. It's a repeating 3, which ends up being 33%, which is also one of those benchmark fractions to be 1/3.
Yes,
So it would be 1/3 of an ounce. And if you gave me any form of that number, I would count it as correct for you tomorrow. It's just the same number written in different forms, written as a fraction, a decimal, or a percent. That was C. Any questions about number 2? Because that's it. Tomorrow it is going to be a pretzel problem. You're going to write that same one that they give you. It just might be 56 pretzels to a 32-ounce bag. They're going to be different numbers, so it's not going to do you any good to memorize the answers because this is not your test. It is the same format. She didn't even change the names of the people. She just changed the numbers you're working with. Yes. We could have, and we would have gotten the same thing. I'm just trying to use some of those other strategies that we use throughout the book so you know that there is another option, because number 4 asks you to do both ways. So you need to be able to scale down and to cross multiply and divide. Any questions about number 2? Number 3. The local farmers market sells peppers at 10 for $4. I would go ahead and find my unit rate. If I'm paying $4 for 10 peppers, how much am I paying for 1 pepper? So 10x is equal to 4. When I divide 4 by 10, that gives me 4/10. I'm dealing in money. So 40 cents is what I'm going to pay for 1 pepper. that is not what the question is asking. A wants you to fill out a rate table. But if I don't know what I am going to pay for one pepper, I can't very well tell you 5, 6, 15, 50, or 100. So finding that unit rate is important. So for one pepper, you should put 40 cents. 2 peppers, 80 cents. 3 peppers, $1.20. 4 peppers, $1.60. 5 peppers, $2. Then it jumps to 10 peppers for 4. That's what was given to us. 15 peppers would be $6. 20 peppers would be $8. Because 20 is 2 times 10, 2 times 4 is 8. You should see those relationships within your rate table. Then it jumps to 100 for $40. So that's filling in your rate table. Tomorrow, each one of those will be their own check. Same farmer's market, same peppers. They're just going to change the numbers. So A was just filling in your rate table. This is the longest problem because you have 5 different things you have to find with this problem. B wants to know how many peppers could you buy for $20. Well, if I know that 100 for 40, half of 40 is 20, so half of 100 is 50. So B is 50 peppers. Now, if you did not see that relationship in here, you could have still used 1 pepper is 40 cents. So how many peppers for $20? You could have still written a proportion and solved it to get your 50. If you couldn't look and use your number sense or scale 100 for 40 down to 50 for 20. Any questions about A or B? C. Describe what this graph would look like and name a point on this graph. This graph, this is what we did in 2.3. It's the lesson that took 2 days. And the first day we did 2 graphs. If you had to describe this graph, peppers would go along the bottom, money would go up the side. Because I'm going over 1 pepper each time and up 40 cents each time, I'm going over and up the same amount of time. So it's going to produce a straight line because I have a constant of proportionality. I'm going up at a constant rate each time. Yes. It would produce a straight line. And when it tells you after this, describing your graph, to tell a point on that graph, any one of these points would work. 1 pepper, 40 cents. 5 peppers, $2. Moving over on your X are the number of peppers. Moving up on your Y is how much money. 10, 4 is a point on our line. 28 is a point on our line. Our points are written as ordered pairs, X and Y. This is the describing the graph and naming a point. D. Write an equation that relates the number of peppers in to the cost. This is that night's homework where we did the constant of proportionality, if you bothered to do the homework. And it was about mugs. The cost is 40 cents for each pepper. This would be the same thing. The cost, 0.4 times N.
Miss Pam, can I get Andrew and Maya into the office for a minute?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Some students even said the number of peppers times 40 cents will give me the cost. That is also correct. So I could plug in any number of peppers, 1,050, and I would be able, by multiplying it by my unit rate or my constant of proportionality, know how much I would pay for 1,050 peppers. And John is humoring us. How much?
$420.
$420 for 1,050 peppers. E. What is the constant of proportionality, and how do you know? 4/10 or 40 cents, 40 hundredths, is your constant of proportionality. And how do you know? Because it's your unit rate. And in that lesson, that was one of the questions you had to answer. Your unit rate is your constant of proportionality. Your unit rate is your constant of proportionality. 40 cents, 0.4, 4/10, or 40 hundredths. It's the same number. If you call it a multiplier, I will still give you credit for it, because in one of our lessons, they called it the multiplier. Because no matter what number you plug in, you're going to multiply it by that same thing. So your unit rate and your constant of proportionality are the same thing. And in one of your lessons, it was referred to as the multiplier. Any questions about number 3? Is that here?
I looked at, looking at what you said, it says about extending with the workers. But what are you looking at here about extending the workers?
No, because she's changed the numbers. Because it might not be 40 cents per pepper on your real test. It might be $1.20 per pepper on your real test. You just have to find that out when you find your unit rate on the test. She has changed all the numbers so that you get practice doing that kind of a problem without giving you the test problem. Turn it to the back, number 4.
I don't know why I did that on the calculator.
On what?
I don't know why I did that on the calculator.
We're on the back, number 4. That did not mean let's start talking. It just means turn your paper over. Tabitha.
Yeah, there's no back. Okay.
I'm going to continue while Miss Williams is taking care of that. Number 5. Nope, number 4. Sorry, we haven't done 5 for you. Number 4. Many U.S. employees receive a 6% raise in 2012. Suppose an employee made $52,000 in 2011 and then received a 6% raise. What did she make in 2012? And show 2 different ways to answer the question. If you only show me one way tomorrow, you will lose credit. When it says show me 2 ways, it means show me 2 ways. So, what 2 ways are they talking about? They're talking about using proportion. And they're talking about scaling. Yes. You can, and then staple the one she's bringing you. Percent over 100 is equal to is over of. It's what you start with. It's what you start with both ways. %. You plug 6 in percent. Is what is 6% of $52,000. So we plug it in. Now this is the first way. It's cross multiplying and dividing. So 100 times x is 100x. And 6 times 52,000 is 312,000. We're going to divide those sides by 100 to get x by itself. This cancels out, and what we've actually done is reduced it by 100. And at 3,120 over 1 is 3,120. This does not answer the question. This simply tells us what is the raise. Isaiah, you and CJ need to go to ISS. Exactly. Go. Out. Well, he'll be the next to go. I need you two to get up and leave.
I ain't even doing that. I'm gonna get this soon.
Yeah, I know that. She's been looking at it.
Yeah, that's looking at. That's why.
I am not going to argue with you. Get up and walk.
Anyway, we got it.
Miss Reed, will you escort him out? So you will add $52,000 and the raise, $3,120. So that will give you $55,120 is the answer.
So and it subtract the total by the
You don't subtract, you add.
Oh, you add.
So the answer to the whole thing is 5 whatever.
55,120.
Oh, that was you.
This is the answer, not the raise. Yes. Now, the second way, this is solving a proportion by cross multiplying and dividing. This next way is by scaling. We're still going to fill it in the same way. Now, or do you want to join them? Because I don't find anything funny when we're reviewing for a test.
Okay.
Most of you shouldn't be laughing after that progress report you got today anyway. We're still filling it in. What's been done to 100 to get 52,000?
Is this number 5?
Nope, yeah, this is the same one. We're on the same problem.
So that.
Take 2 zeros off because there's 2 zeros here. It's been multiplied by 520. This is scaling. So if I multiply the bottom by 520, I also have to multiply the top by 520. In your calculator, multiply 520 times 6.
3, 1.
It's still going to give you that same raise, this raise. But again, that is not your answer. That just gives you what is 6% of 52,000. you're still going to have to take that 52,000 and add the 3,120 to get the 55,120 that is the answer. So that's how much money she made in 2012 with her salary and that 6% raise together. Yes.
That's my answer?
Yes. So the whole point in that problem was not so much that you knew how to find the percent of a number, which you should know how to do. We spent weeks on it. But that you realize there's more than one way to do that. And that is by cross-multiplying and dividing, actually solving the proportion, or scaling up by doing the same thing to the top that you did to the bottom. Now, if this number were smaller than this one, we would have been scaling down. We would have been dividing bottom and top by the same thing. That's what we do to find a unit rate. To go down to 1, we scale down. So that the whole point is for this problem that you understand proportions and scaling. Any questions about number 4? Selena.
So, like, you don't have to multiply it instead of, you don't divide it, you multiply it to get your other answer. And then, like,
That's
it's
scaling.
another way to do it.
Yeah, just another way to do it. Number 5. There's also 2 ways to think about number 5. It gives you Plan A and Plan B. Plan A is 8 parts white to 3 parts red paint, and Plan B is 6 parts white to 2 parts red paint. Now, I can look at this 2 different ways. The first way that I'm going to look at it is to see how much red would be in 1 part white. That way, I know whichever one has the lowest amount of red is the least red. So I can now solve for X to find out what it would be with these ratios, what part red to 1 part white. 8x is equal to 3, and I'm dividing both sides by 8 to get x by itself. What is 3 divided by 8? You have the calculator, not me.
3 divided by 8?
It's 375,000. Now we're doing the same thing to the second, to Plan B. 6 times x is 6x. 2 times 1 is 2. I'm dividing both by 6 to get x by itself. What is 2 divided by 6? It is a repeating 333,000. Which one is smaller? 0.37 or 0.33? 0.33. Plan B would be the least red, because the red to this is the smaller of the 2. Some of you may have looked at it differently. Some of you may have looked at it, okay, I've got 8 parts of white to 3 parts red, 6 parts white to 2 parts red, but I want to keep the red consistent. I want to look at to 1 part red to 1 part red. you interpret the answer is going to be different than how you interpret it when you were looking at one part white. 3x is equal to 8. Divide both sides by 3. 3 will go into 8 2 2/3 times. So that's 2 2/3 part white paint to 1 part red. This one is 6 and 2x. 2x is equal to 6. Divide both sides by 2. X is equal to 6 divided by 2. How many times will 2 go into 6? 3. Now, these have the same amount of red in it, but if you have the most white, aren't you the least red? So the most white here would make your lighter red. So if you chose to look at one part white, it's the one that had the least amount of red in it. But if you chose to look at it as one part red, then it's going to be the one that had the most white in it. It just depends on which way you wanted to look at the problem. And I didn't want to discount somebody's idea if you were looking at it as to one part red instead of looking at it as to one part white. Any questions about number 5? Because again, tomorrow it is paint. You are looking for least red, but these numbers are going to change, and they're asking you to do the same thing. Alex, quickly. Quickly. Because that is more important than passing the test. Yes. You are going to have calculators. Number 6. This is the one where the fraction was kicked out, and I gave you some time at the beginning of the class to plug it in and to try solving it on your own with the fraction that I gave you. This was the last lesson we done, making sure that when you converted units that you were converting them and that the bottoms were matching or the tops were matching. So the train ride at the zoo covers a distance of 3 miles in 1/3 of an hour. Now I did ask you to plug in 1/3 because whatever fraction she had, it had kicked it out when I printed it. So when you took it home to do it last night, you couldn't have even completed it. So part A is asking how many miles.
Miss Camp, I need Diana to go home.
Thank you. Can he go in 1 hour? Now some of you may have chosen to leave it in hours. Gerardo, could I solve this in the form that it is in?
Yeah.
Yes, because I have hours on bottom with hours. The only difference is I'm working with fractions if I choose to keep it that way. What is 1/3 of an hour? 20 minutes. If I choose to convert it into minutes, what do I have to do over here? 60 minutes. So that was the last lesson we did. We were converting units, making sure that when we set up our proportions, that we matched. Selena.
Did you say what was half of the, what was
A
half?
third. 20, 40, 60.
Oh.
One is 20 minutes. So once I've chosen to change them to minutes, like I said, if you chose to leave it 1/3 of an hour and 1 hour, when you cross multiply and divide, it is still going to come out the same. You're just choosing to work with fractions. But it's still going to give you the same answer. So when we cross multiply and divide, bless you, 20 times x is 20x. 3 times 60 is 180. And we divide both sides by 20. We can reduce it by 10 by just crossing that out. What is 18 divided by 2?
9.
It goes 9 miles an hour. That is a slow train.
Yes, it is.
Very slow.
But then again, it is at a zoo. You're sightseeing. Put it in context. Now, this had to be the easiest problem because, one, it only has 2 parts. And you're doing 3rd grade math on the 2nd part. So, if this is A, and we find out that it's going 9 miles in 1 hour, then how many miles does it go in 3 hours? 27 miles. That's part B. This is all of problem 6. Now again, that was probably the easiest problem on there.
So we're gonna have this one like this too.
You have a train problem tomorrow, but it's not going to be 1/3 of an hour. It's going to be something different. It might even be something easier. It might even be half an hour. I just know she changed the fraction, and that's what you have to work with. So if you can solve this one, you can solve whichever one is on the actual test, because you're solving them all the same way. If you have trouble with breaking your hour into minutes, draw a clock. You could have figured out if I broke it into 60 into parts of 3, it would have been 20-minute sections. You can figure that out. We're looking at number 7 now. And yes, number 7 tomorrow is a bird feeder problem. And most of you have seen me at CE this week, so you should know the easy way to do this problem. And if you haven't, your ears need to perk up, because there's an easy way to solve this problem. Number 7. She did not even change the name, because it's Nancy and her bird feeder tomorrow. The numbers have just been changed. Nancy wants to put a bird seed mix in her bird feeder. The mix is 35% wild bird seed. It's 65% sunflower seed. Her bird feeder can hold 8 cups of bird seed. 35% of 8 cups. Any time in that percent over 100 is equal to is over of, the is missing, this is your shortcut. It's taking, anytime you can say of, it's multiply. And we've changed that percent to a decimal by moving it 2 places to the left. So now in your calculators, what is 0.35 times 8? 2.8 cups. Now, if I were a 7th grader taking this test and it was a bird feeder and I was looking at cups and I came up with a decimal, I would be going, hold breath. There's a decimal in this answer. It does not look right to me. What else can I do to make sure that this answer looks appropriate? I know the whole. Don't I know the whole?
Yes.
What if I did the same thing to this? What is 35% of 8? 0.65 times 8.
5.2.
Thank you, Damien. I bragged on you today to coach. You were on point yesterday and you are today too. What is 8 plus 2? 5, 6, 7, 8. Does that give me the whole 8 cups that the bird feeder holds? Yes. So 5.2 cups of sunflower seed and 2.8 cups of wild bird seed all together gives me my 8 cups for the bird feeder. But this is the only part that they were wanting, was the wild bird seed. So you really just had to find 35% of 8. And if you didn't know this shortcut, then you set up your 35% of 8. Percent over 100 is equal to is over of. And anytime that is missing, you can do this. So Nancy's problem tomorrow should be very easy for you too. So the training Nancy, you should have licked. Should be done. Now we're on the last one, which is 8. Now this is a little bit more difficult just because of the fraction I think that I chose. But you're going to follow the same steps anyway. And some of you are going to stop and think you've got the answer, and you're not really going to have completed the problem. So I need you to pay attention, or you're going to stop halfway through, just like you would stop halfway through with the raise. You get the raise answer and thought you were finished. You had to add it back to the salary. You got to make sure you're answering the question. The engine in Paul's Weed Whacker uses an oil-to-gas mixture. The owner's manual recommends mixing the oil and the gasoline together using the size of the oil container to guide how much is each to use. It states to use 1/16 parts oil to 4 parts gasoline. It then goes to tell me that Paul has gone out and bought a 32-ounce container of oil. Oil goes on top with oil. John. So how much gasoline is he going to need to mix with 32 ounces of oil? That's 1/16 X is equal to 4 times 32, which is 128. I have to divide both sides by 1/16, sorry, to get my answer, to get X. Now, this calculator does not have a fraction key,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
and I am fixing to show you how to punch fractions into this calculator. So, everybody get a calculator and make sure that it is cleared, and follow my instructions. Punch it in as I tell you to. 1, 2, 8, divided by, now look at me. A fraction is a division problem. It's top divided by bottom, and that's how you turn it back into a decimal, because it's a division problem, and it has a decimal form. Then you know you can move that decimal 2 places to the back, and it's a percent. Every number can be written in those 3 forms. Now, to get our fraction, it's a division problem. Now you're going to open parentheses, which is over the 8. Open parentheses is over the 8. 1 divided by 16. And close parentheses, which is over the 9. Now hit enter. 2048. Okay, what did that answer just give me? It's not enough that you got an answer. You have to know what that answer means. That answer only gave me how much gas I'm supposed to mix with that much oil. Because this much gas is on bottom with gas. This container, this is the problem it asked. This